A surprise late-night summons to my attractive boss's office turned into an unexpected demand for intimate exposure. Be me, 31-year-old Elizabeth Lisa Anderson, living in Denver for past few years, working as corporate legal consultant at prestigious firm, doing pretty well for myself professionally, married to Richard, been together since college. Tonight is another fancy corporate party at Grand Summit Hotel. Walking in with Richard, warmth of the room hits instantly. Everyone dressed to the nines. Me in a burgundy silk dress that fits perfectly. Glance at Richard beside me. Notice how tired he looks these days. His once dark brown hair getting more gray than I'd like to admit. Lines around his eyes deeper with each smile. Those smiles getting rarer lately? His suit hanging loose on his frame. Not from weight loss. Just because it's a decade old from when he still looked younger, walk in together but feel drawn to someone else. My boss, Andrew Hamilton, not physically at first, more like some invisible force pulling me toward him. Tall, clean-cut, dark hair with perfect touches of silver. Commands attention without trying. Always busy with meetings, but kindness is unmatched. He's helped us so much. Got us that dream house when nobody else would. Even found Richard a better position. Spot him by the entrance, talking with other executives. Even among all these expensive suits, he stands out. Those broad shoulders. Perfect fitting charcoal gray suit. Confident stance that Richard used to have. Or maybe I just imagined he did. Look at Richard fiddling with his cufflinks. Completely oblivious to tension in the air. He never really fit these corporate events. Works hard, no question. But something always missing. Then I got job at Hamilton's firm. Things changed for better. At least on surface. Going to say hello to Mr. Hamilton, I tell Richard. Brush my hand on his arm. He barely nods, hardly meeting my eyes. Each step toward Hamilton feels like countdown. Dress fabric brushing against skin, making me hyper-aware of everything. Hamilton turns as I approach. That warm, welcoming smile spreads across his face. Can't help but feel flutter of excitement. Every time he looks at me like that. Lisa, good to see you, he says. His voice deep and rich, feel it in my chest. Gives me half hug. Professional, but lingers just a moment too long. How's everything going? Enjoying the party? He asks. I nod, smiling. Can't help glancing over his shoulder. His wife Catherine standing there, talking with other spouses. She's beautiful in that classic, refined way. Feel something twist inside? Maybe it's jealousy, not sure. Richard's still at bar, sipping whiskey alone, completely unaware of what's happening between us. We start chatting. Small talk at first, but conversation always flows naturally with Hamilton. Admired him from beginning. Lately it's different though. Notice how he leans in when speaking. The way his hand occasionally brushes mine during work discussions. Like now, standing among all these people. Feel his hand graze my lower back. As he leans closer to whisper something. Pulse quickens instantly. Such a simple touch sends shockwave through my body. Catch my breath. Quickly glance around. Making sure nobody noticed, but party continues around us. Everyone oblivious to this moment. You look stunning tonight, he whispers. Voice low enough for only me to hear. Cheeks flush instantly. Heart pounding against ribs. Shouldn't feel this alive. Not when Richard's just across the room. Thank you, I stammer. His compliments always catch me off guard. Make me feel seen. In a way I haven't felt in years. Rest of evening becomes blur. Conversations. Drinks. Stolen glances. Every moment with Hamilton charged. With energy we both feel but don't acknowledge. When time comes to leave, Richard's grown quiet. Just follows me out. His hand barely touching my back. Nothing like intensity I felt with Hamilton. That night I lie in bed. Richard sleeping beside me. Staring at ceiling. Can't sleep. Mind racing. Not with guilt. Not yet anyway. Instead overwhelmed by how alive I felt tonight. How much I craved that attention. That spark. Richard sleeping peacefully next to me. Completely unaware of shifting tides. But I'm wide awake. Thoughts racing. Replaying every moment. Every glance. Every subtle touch. Know something's been set in motion tonight. No going back now. Next morning, wake to sound of alarm. Richard already stirring beside me. Stretches and grunts while getting out of bed. Notice gray hair around his temples. More prominent than ever. See slight sagging of his skin. Face shows kinda tired that sleep can't fix. Watch him shuffle to bathroom. Door clicks shut behind him. Let out breath, didn't know I was holding. Mind immediately goes back to last night. Hamilton, how his hand lingered on my back. His voice low and intimate with compliments. Sends tingles down spine just thinking about it. Can't shake feeling of wanting more. Needing more than what I have here. With Richard, wasn't always like this. Used to look at Richard with admiration. We were team. young and ambitious, making plans for future. He worked hard, can't deny that, but somewhere things shifted. His hard work wasn't paying off. Promotions kept slipping through fingers. Salary stayed same. We managed, but wasn't enough. Meanwhile, I kept rising at firm, thanks to Hamilton's mentorship. Almost funny in dark way. Richard was one who wanted more from life. He pushed for bigger goals, family, future with security. But I ended up achieving it, while he fell behind. Remember day I introduced him to Hamilton. Richard was nervous, unsure if right move, but I insisted. Hamilton offered him position. Something better than previous job. Knew it would be good for him. Hamilton, always generous, always understanding, took Richard under his wing. But watching them together that first day, couldn't help noticing difference. Hamilton commanding every room. Richard nervous, fidgeting with hands, nodding too eagerly. Hamilton praised his work ethic, said he was exactly what firm needed. Richard beamed at praise, like thirsty plant getting water. But to me it felt empty, saw pity in Hamilton's eyes. He helped because of me, same way he helped with house. Beautiful dream home we couldn't afford alone. Hamilton made calls, arranged favorable mortgage. Everything fell perfectly into place. Thanks to him. Richard grateful, but deep down knew he hadn't earned it. Maybe that's where it started. The resentment, slow burning frustration, building over years. While Richard fell into routine, work and fatigue, I was thriving. Becoming someone in office, kept myself looking good, stayed fit, dressed well, looked younger than my age. People noticed. Hamilton noticed. Had everything really great job. Nice house. Husband who loved me. So why did I feel so empty? Why lying in bed thinking about another man? Richard finally comes out of bathroom. Gives me half smile. Kind that barely reaches eyes anymore. Morning, he mumbles. Putting on worn work clothes? Morning, I reply. Try to sound cheerful. Mind still elsewhere? Watch him move around room. Getting ready for day. Wonder if he notices, if he sees I'm not same anymore, that something between us shifted. Doubt it? He seems lost in his own routine, his own thoughts. Don't forget dinner at your parents' tonight, he reminds me, grabbing his keys. Right, dinner, I say, force a smile. Another night of pretending, playing dutiful wife, while mine miles away. As he leaves, lean back against pillows, close eyes for moment. Try to clear head. But all I see is Hamilton's face, his smile, his hand on my back. Later arrive at office, wearing sharp navy pencil skirt, silk blouse that fits perfectly, office buzzing with energy, phones ringing, people rushing to meetings, but my focus elsewhere. Keep glancing at Hamilton's closed door. Wonder if he's thinking about last night. Like I am, not long before summoned to his office. Heart speeds up while knocking. Hear his voice call, come in. He's behind desk. Stands moment I walk in, smiles that smile. Lisa, good to see you. Close the door, would you? Do as asked. Pulse quickening. Room feels smaller with just us. How are you? He asks, moves around desk, stands closer, eyes lingering bit too long. You looked amazing at party. Blush again. Curse myself for reacting this way. Can't help it. Thank you, it was fun night, I say. Voice comes out breathless. He steps closer. Feel warmth radiating from him. His cologne fills my senses. Mix of cedar and something expensive. Been thinking about you, he says softly. Hand brushes against mine. Breath catches in throat. Want to say something? Anything. But words won't come. Can only stare up at him. Caught in moment, body betraying me. Heart fluttering wildly. Then he leans in. Just enough to close gap. His lips brush mine. Softly at first. Testing. When I don't pull away. Kisses me more fully. World outside office disappears. Just us. No husband. No obligations. Just heat of his mouth on mine. His hands cupping my face. Pulling me closer. Something in me snaps. Something hidden for so long. This isn't just kiss. It's beginning of something bigger. Something I can't control anymore. Nothing was same after kiss. Walk out of office with racing heart. Tingling lips. Overwhelming guilt creeping into chest. But beneath shame and second guessing, something more intoxicating. Excitement. Kiss awakened something in me. Something thought was long buried. Marriage felt distant. Dull compared to fiery spark with Hamilton. Try carrying on with day. Push down images flashing in mind. His lips on mine. Way his hand slid down waist, lingering just enough to make me ache. But impossible to focus. Every time walk past his office, stomach twists into knots. Every email from him, even most basic work ones, has me analyzing words, looking for hidden meanings. That night can't look at Richard. Go through motions at parents' place. Smile at right moments. Laugh at jokes that aren't funny. In head, just replaying kiss. Over and over like stuck film. Watch Richard during dinner. See him interact with my parents, speaking softly, almost passively about work. Hard not to compare him to Hamilton. How Hamilton commands attention. Makes me feel important just by looking at me. Stay quiet on drive home. Barely register Richard and Dad talking about football. Richard keeps glancing at me, probably wondering why so withdrawn. But he doesn't push. He never pushes. That used to be strength, giving me space when needed. Now just makes me feel more distant. Get home. Richard sits on couch, flicking through channels. Head upstairs to shower. Stand under hot water. Let it cascade down body. Try washing away guilt. Confusion. But doesn't help. Still feel Hamilton's hands. Still taste sweetness of his lips. Scrub harder. Like could erase what happened. But mind keeps wandering back to him. Dry off. Pull on one of Richard's old t-shirts. Crawl into bed. Richard joins few minutes later. Turns off TV. Slips under covers. Doesn't say much. Just brief, "You okay?" Mumbles something back. Barely audible. Bed feels colder than usual. Space between us like ocean. Lie there staring at ceiling. Wonder how everything changed so fast. Next few days blur together. Work becomes routine. Place to hide from reality of what done. Hamilton and I avoid mentioning kiss. Don't need to. Air between us thick with tension. Every glance charged with unspoken desire. He doesn't push. Makes it harder to resist. Part of me wants him to pull me into office again. Kiss me like before. But quieter part wants to run. Pretend none of it happened. Go back to being loyal wife. After hours on Friday, most of office cleared out. Finishing paperwork at desk. Hamilton appears in doorway. Doesn't speak at first. Just leans against frame. Arms crossed. Watching me with those dark, intense eyes. "Busy night?" he finally asks. Voice low and smooth. Glance up. Heart doing familiar flip. "Just catching up on reports," I say. "Try keeping voice steady." He pushes off doorframe. Walks into my office. Closes door softly behind him. Sound of latch clicking echoes. Suddenly room feels smaller. Walls closing in. Pulse quickens instantly. "Been thinking about other night," he says. Standing beside desk. Gaze never leaving mine. Swallow hard. Fingers grip pen like anchor. "We shouldn't have done that," I whisper. Body betrays me. Leans slightly toward him. He tilts head. Small knowing smile plays on lips. "Maybe, but I don't regret it." Breath catches in throat. God, why does he have to be so calm? So sure of himself? Wanna be angry? Tell him off. Say this can't happen again. But all I think about is how he makes me feel. Alive. Wanted. Desired. "We can't," I say. More to myself than him. "I'm married, you're married." He nods but doesn't back away. I know but doesn't change how I feel. Voice quiet, but there's fire behind it. Something raw and real. Haven't heard from anyone in long time. Look up at him, feel resolve crumbling. "This is crazy," I whisper. He reaches out, gently brushes strand of hair from face. Fingers graze skin. Touch electric. Sends shivers down spine. Maybe, but sometimes crazy is what we need. Just like that, I'm lost. He leans down. Lips find mine. Kiss softer this time. Slower, but no less intense. Melt into him, hands reach up. Pull him closer. Need more. Crave warmth of his body against mine. Kiss deepens. Before I know it. In his arms. His hand sliding down back. Pulling me tight against him. Feels dangerous. Thrilling. Like teetering on edge. Something we can't come back from. Don't want to stop. Not now. Don't think about Richard. His tired face waiting at home. Don't think about consequences. The fallout that will come. All I think about is Hamilton. How he makes me feel alive. How he fills empty spaces inside me. Growing for so long. We break apart. Both breathing heavily. His forehead rests against mine. His breath warm on my lips. "We don't have to rush this," he murmurs. Hands still holding me close. I nod. Unable to speak. Room feels too small, too hot. Can barely think straight. "We'll take it slow," he says. Voice steady, like he has it all figured out. But deep down, know there's no slow about this. It's train speeding toward cliff. We're both on board. Racing toward whatever comes next. Don't know how to stop it. Don't even know if weeks that follow become whirlwind. Of secrecy, desire, guilt. Each time tell myself it's last. That won't let it go further. But each time find myself back in Hamilton's arms. Like addiction. Can't quit no matter how hard try. Every stolen kiss. Every whispered conversation. Every moment spent together in shadows. Only deepens bond between us. With each encounter, drift further from Richard, from life we built together. At home, play part of devoted wife, but cracks showing. Richard notices late nights, the excuses, the distance. He asks how work is. If everything okay? I smile. Tell him everything fine, just tired. He believes me, always believes me. That's worst part. He trusts me completely, and I'm betraying him in worst possible way. One evening after another long day at office, longer than should have been. Thanks to Hamilton. Come home to find Richard sitting at kitchen table. Glass of whiskey in hand. He looks up as I enter. His eyes filled with something can't quite place. Sadness. Resignation. Not sure which. Hey, I say softly. Try to act normal. But guilt gnawing at me. Heavier than usual tonight. Hey, he replies, voice low. Take sip of drink. Eyes never leaving mine. You're home late again. Yeah, I mutter. Set down bag. Walk toward fridge, avoiding his gaze. Work's been crazy lately. Long silence follows. Kind that makes hair on neck stand up. Can feel him watching, studying me. Turn around. Force a smile. But he doesn't return it. I've been thinking, he says slowly. Fingers tracing edge of whiskey glass. About us. About everything. My stomach tightens. Feel like deer in headlights. What do you mean? I ask. Voice shaky. Betraying me? He looks at me. Really looks at me. Way he hasn't in months. I know something's wrong, Lisa. You've been different. Distant. He pauses. Takes another sip. I'm not blind. I can see what's happening. Even if you won't tell me. Panic rises in chest. Fight to keep face neutral. I don't know what you're talking about, I lie. Words feel hollow. Even to me. He sets glass down on table with thud. Eyes darkening. Don't do that. Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid. I know you're seeing someone. Words hit like punch to gut. Stand there frozen. Mind racing. How could he know? Had he found out about Hamilton? Had someone told him? Room seems to spin. Try to form response. I start, but he cuts me off. Just tell me the truth, Lisa. His voice strained. I deserve that much, don't I? Open mouth to speak. Nothing comes out. Weight of deception too much. Feel walls closing in? Can't lie anymore. Can't keep pretending everything okay? Can't hide I'm cheating with another man. I'm sorry, I whisper. Voice barely audible. I didn't mean for this to happen. His face crumples. For moments, see man I married. Man who loved me through everything. Who stood by my side. Through good and bad. Now I've destroyed him. Who is he asks, voice cracking. Is it someone from work? I nod slowly, tears welling up. Yes. He stands up, pushes chair back with force, scrapes loudly against floor. He's breathing heavily, hands clenched into fists. How long? He demands. Few months, I admit, voice trembling. But I swear it didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A mistake? He laughs bitterly, shaking his head. You don't accidentally fall into someone else's bed, Lisa. I'm sorry, I repeat, tears streaming down face. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know what to do. He stares at me, feels like eternity. His eyes filled with pain so deep, makes my chest ache. I wanted a family, he says quietly, voice thick with emotion. I wanted to have kids with you. I wanted to build a life with you. And now it's all ruined. I collapse onto floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I've broken everything. Our marriage, our future, everything we worked for. And for what? Few stolen moments. With man who doesn't really care, way Richard does. Thrown it all away. I should have known, he continues, voice growing harder. Colder, you've always been out of my league. Haven't you? The pretty wife with successful career, and me. Just the guy who's never been good enough. That's not true, I choke out, shaking my head. I never thought that. I love you. Love? He scoffs. You don't do this to someone you love, Lisa. Nothing left to say. No amount of apologies, no explanations. Could fix what I'd done. I had destroyed man I once loved. Shattered life we built together. Now nothing left but ruins. He walks out of kitchen, leaving me there, on cold floor, sobbing into my hands. Hear front door open, then close. With it, any hope of salvaging what remained of our marriage disappeared. I was alone, truly alone. For first time in my life, days that follow become blur of numbness and regret. Richard moves out. I don't fight him. No, I've lost him for good. Go through motions at work. avoiding Hamilton as much as possible. The thrill, excitement once felt, all gone now, replaced by deep, aching emptiness. One day, find myself standing outside Hamilton's office, hand hovering over door handle. No, he's inside, probably going about his day, like nothing changed, but everything has changed. I've ruined my marriage. And for what? Man who doesn't love me, who would never leave his own family. Turn away, walk down hallway. Knowing can never go back. Marriage is over. So is whatever fantasy had with Hamilton. No going back, only forward. Alone, in and have no one to blame but myself. Weeks pass. Quiet settles in, like suffocating fog. House feels too big without him. Silence heavier than ever imagined. Pressing in as move through rooms, like ghost of former self. Try to fill space with noise, TV, music, anything to drown out emptiness, but nothing works. No distraction big enough to drown out guilt. The shame, knowledge that brought this on myself. Richard gone. No word from him. He left without much explanation. But what more was there to say? I'd broken us. He didn't take much. Just few clothes, personal items, left behind most of what we'd built together. Like he didn't want reminders. Of our life? Of me? At work, things stayed tense. Hamilton tried carrying on. Like nothing changed, but it had. Couldn't look at him same way. Couldn't feel same thrill once had. Every time saw him, all could think about was what lost. Stolen moments we shared. Now felt tainted. Like poison that seeped into life. Destroyed everything in path. One afternoon at desk, staring blankly at computer screen. Knock at door. Look up to see Hamilton, standing in doorway. He doesn't smile this time. Doesn't try to charm with usual confidence. Face serious, expression unreadable. Can we talk? He asks. Hesitate before nodding. Sure. He steps into office, closes door behind him, leans against it moment, like gathering thoughts. Can feel weight of conversation, pressing down on both of us. I've been thinking about what happened, he begins, voice softer than usual. And about mess we've both made. Don't say anything. What is there to say? It was mess. A disaster. He takes deep breath, runs hand through hair. Sign of stress never seen before? I care about you, Lisa, he says. But this can't go on. It's not just about us. There's too much at stake. For both of us. I nod slowly, heart sinking. Had known this was coming, prepared myself for it. But hearing words still hurts. More than expected. I never meant for any of this to happen, he continues. I don't know what I thought, but I can't hurt my family like this. I can't do it to them, and I can't do this to you either. His words hang in air. For first time, feel finality of it. The affair is over. The fantasy, the thrill, the escape, all gone, left with wreckage of marriage. My life, nothing to show for it. I understand, I say quietly. And I do understand all too well. He looks at me long moment, like searching for something in face. Maybe relief, maybe anger, but can't give him either. Nothing left inside but emptiness. I hope you find way to move on from this, he says softly, eyes softening just for a moment. You deserve more than this mess. Don't respond. Can't. Throat feels tight. All can do is nod, blinking back tears threatening to spill. With that, he turns, walks out of office, door clicking shut behind him. Sit there long time, staring at empty space where he stood, weight of his absence settling over me. Like heavy blanket, it was over. Days blur into one another. Work becomes monotonous routine, place to hide from reality. Of what had done, Hamilton and I keep distance, barely exchange more than nod in passing. He goes back to being busy, successful man. Everyone admires. I go back to being invisible. In shadow of own choices. At home, loneliness grows. Sit in living room, staring at blank TV screen. Silence stretches on and on. Sometimes pick up phone. Think about calling Richard, but what would say? That I'm sorry? That regret everything? Words feel meaningless now. He wouldn't want to hear them. Not sure have strength to say them. One evening, find myself driving. I don't know where going. Just need to get out of house, to escape suffocating quiet. Drive aimlessly through city, lights blurring as speed down streets. Eventually find myself parked. Outside apartment building, where Richard's staying, modest place he rented after leaving. Haven't been here before, but no address. Looked it up weeks ago, never had nerve to visit. Until now, sit there staring up at dimly lit windows, heart pounding in chest. Don't know what hoping for. Chance to explain? To apologize? To beg forgiveness? Maybe just want to see him. No, he's okay? That hasn't completely fallen apart. like I have, after what feels like eternity. Get out of car. Walk to door. Hand hovers over doorbell. Trembling. Hesitate. Wonder if this mistake, but before can stop myself. Press button. Seconds stretch into what feels like hours. Just when about to turn and leave, door opens. There he is. My husband, looking older, more worn than last time saw him. His eyes widen in surprise. Lisa, he says, voice tight with emotion. What are you doing here? Swallow hard. Try to steady voice. I don't know, I admit. I had to see you. He stares at me for a long moment, expression completely unreadable. Heavy sigh escapes his lips, steps aside. Letting me in, apartment is small but tidy. Far cry from spacious house we shared. Stand awkwardly in entryway, unsure what to say, what to do. He watches me, waiting. I'm sorry, I blurt out. Words rushing before can stop them. I'm so sorry for everything. He doesn't respond right away. Instead, walks to small kitchen table, sits down, motions for me to join him, hesitate before sitting across from him, hands shaking, clasp them together on table. I know I hurt you, I say quietly, voice breaking, and I know I can't take it back. But I need you to know how much I regret it. He nods slowly, eyes distant. I believe you, he says, voice flat. But that doesn't change anything. I know, I whisper, tears spilling over. I don't know how to fix this. He looks at me then, really looks at me, can see pain in his eyes. I don't think you can, Lisa. Some things can't be fixed. Words cut deep, feel weight of them settle over me. Like heavy shroud, he's right. I had broken something between us, something that couldn't be repaired. With apologies or regret, I'm moving on, he says after long silence. I have to. For my own sake. I nod, swallowing lump in throat. I understand. We sit there for a while, neither speaking, nothing left to say. I had come here searching for closure, for some kind of resolution. Instead, found only bitter reality of my choices. My husband was right. Some things couldn't be fixed. Eventually stand up, wiping tears from cheeks. I'll go, I say softly. He doesn't stop me. As walk to door, glance back one last time. He's staring down at table, hands folded in front of him. Distance between us more than just physical now. Leave closing door quietly behind me. Walk back to car. Night air cold. Sit behind wheel. Realize how final it all feels. Marriage is over, no going back, lost everything, and it's all my fault.